In Persona 5 Royal, Joker is not only the leader of the Phantom Thieves, but he's also the most versatile and competent member of the team, to the point that other characters go as far as to say that the team is useless without Joker. So we're here to see how much Joker can do on his own, along with his original persona Arsene, at the game's toughest. Can you beat Persona 5 Royal with only Joker and Arsene on Merciless? Here are the rules. Until I can kick them off, party members can only guard during battle. Healing between battles is fair game. I may have one party member in my team for performing holdups, but none are allowed during mini-bosses and boss fights with one exception. Arsene is the only persona allowed to be used in battle. The run must be done on New Game, and on Merciless difficulty. DLC is allowed, but I don't think they're a necessity, just a convenience. The run will officially start at mission start on April 18th, for reasons I'll explain later. The run is considered complete once the credits roll on the true ending route. There will be spoilers throughout the video, so take that as a warning. As another heads up, some of the early footage will have a face cam and death counter because I was originally streaming the run, but got busy with school as things went on, so I recorded it offline instead. This also won't be a complete summary of the story, so key plot details may be left out. With that out of the way, let's begin. The game starts with Joker trying to escape a casino in one piece. We get caught, get saved by the new girl, and get caught for real. While I'm being assaulted and drugged by police, they asked me to sign my name. I told them my name was Goro Akechi, and no one said a word. Sanijima shows up to come and interrogate me on what happened, and now I have to explain to her how this challenge run went. After getting a criminal record despite being innocent, I ended up in Young and Jai with Sojo Osaka as my guardian as I attend Shujin Academy. But instead of ending up at school, I end up at a palace with Ryuji Sakamoto. Turns out it's the palace of Kamoshida, a teacher at our school who's abusing his students. Before we get killed, I break into Arsene, trash some enemies, and we make our escape with some cat named Morgana. Ryuji wants to return to the palace, and we end up getting caught, only for Ryuji to awaken to his own persona. This fight is legitimately unwinnable without insane luck. My record is taking out one bicorn along with dealing some damage to the next one before I get taken out. This fight is the sole reason why I say the run doesn't start until the 18th, where I have full control, because there's no strategy I can implement here besides getting lucky. We escape again, and Kamoshida's abuse gets to the point where An's friend Shiho tries to take her own life. An enters the palace and awakens to her own persona as well. This fight is very easy though, just keep using Dream Needle until Belphegor goes down. Some more exposition later, and on April 18th I can start the run. Most enemies will two-shot me at worst, but many also come in groups, so I have to hope they target my party members over me. I can't target the weaknesses of most enemies either, so if I get unlucky with who I run into, that's an instant death. The first big mini-boss is Archangel, and the fight went pretty well. It'll spend a turn charging, using cleave, and then waiting. It'll attack every party member until Joker is the only one left, and with everyone guarding, this is more than enough to get through this fight with only Joker attacking. Later, we're forced to fight two guard captains to progress to the end of the castle, and I can't target their weaknesses. But Arsene learns the skill Dream Needle, which puts enemies to sleep, and once they're asleep, we can do technical damage with cleave to get the win. This is also the same strategy I used to beat the Willseed Guardian. With that being the last challenge, I make it to the end of the palace on the first day. I grind a bit, grab some supplies from Takemi, and send the calling card. We try to escape with the treasure, but Kamoshida stops us, while basically saying,
"I'm not an incel, my internet friends called me king, see?"
And the fight begins. Kamoshida may attack twice a turn, but he attacks my teammates more than me, so the first two phases are pretty simple. Afterwards comes the phase with Cognitive Mishima and Shiho, setting up Kamoshida for his kill shot. We take out Shiho in 2 hits, and now we enter the final phase, where we try to take off Kamoshida's crown. I can't deal enough damage in order to keep Kamoshida distracted long enough, so I just have to take out all of his HP on my own, with some periodic healing mixed in. I managed to win the fight on my first try. An spares Kamoshida's life so that he can pay for his crimes in the real world, and eventually, Kamoshida returns to school and confesses his crimes, thus ending the worst first month at a new high school I've ever seen. The school hires a counselor, Maruki, to help out the students. He's also a confidant I'll be focusing on, since he raises my SP, along with giving me great abilities. Later, we meet Yusuke, a young artist who wants An to be his model. An wasn't too crazy about the offer, but after learning that Yusuke's sensei, Madarame, may be plagiarizing his students' work, we get back in contact with Yusuke, and after he denies it, we enter Madarame's palace on our own. After avoiding most fights, we hit a roadblock and need to do something about it in the real world. So An agrees to Yusuke's model only so that Morgana can open the door behind the scenes. Meanwhile, I take down Nue thanks to a fire item, and Yusuke discovers the truth behind Madarame and awakens to his own persona. The awakening battle was also surprisingly easy. I focus my efforts on the Ippon Jitara, while the 4 Kyopatengu do nothing but Tsukukaja and try to inflict range on my team. I get lucky with some crits, and the Ippon Jitara goes down fast, along with the rest. Now that Yusuke has joined the team, I can walk around palaces on my own. The next fight is against Kurama Tengu with 2 Kopa Tengus. I came up with a strategy that involves raising my own attack and then using a stun gun to stop the Kurama Tengu from one-shotting me, and if I got enraged, my attack would be strong enough to one-shot the Kurama Tengu. However, I got lucky with some detoxes, so it didn't really matter. The last fight is against 3 Makamis, and they also go down to some stun guns. Once I secure the route to the treasure, I gain access to skill cards, and I grind up so I can use some personas for said skill cards to cover more elements, and I'm ready to send the calling card. I'll be honest, this fight took a lot of attempts and showed just how hard this challenge can actually be down the line. And when I mean this fight, I mean just the first phase. The gimmick of the first phase is to attack multiple paintings at once, but I'm only one person rather than a full 4-man party, so this is going to be rough. I had pretty much only 2 turns to take out the paintings, or I would have been taken out by the remaining enemies. After a while, I managed to win, but I lost the footage, so I had to do it again. It took 40 minutes to get just past the first phase again, and in order for that to happen, I pretty much needed the following to happen. The left eye cannot use Silent Snowscape, because I'm weak to ice. I cannot get inflicted with a single status ailment. And finally, I need a triple and double roll on Rampage. On the winning attempt, I managed to take down all of the paintings besides the mouth with 2 Rampages. The mouth will continue to revive the left eye, so I can just use magic to take it out. The second phase is thankfully very easy, since all we have to do is hit Madarame's fakes with the element they're weak to, then hit Madarame. Eventually, Madarame will make fakes with status ailments, so we're able to use that to rampage both the bad fakes in Madarame and get another turn. Finally, we're able to win the fight. The next day, Madarame goes down and our cloud goes up. The next couple of days, we find out our teacher works as a maid, meet some guy named Takechi, and I also start my confidant with Kasumi. Makoto finds out we're the Phantom Thieves, and thanks to Ryuji, she has pretty convincing evidence.
If someone else could help him, we wouldn't be doing stuff as the Phantom Thieves to start with. Hey, where you at? Taking a leak? Let's meet up at the usual spot to hold our Phantom Thieves meeting.
Left with no choice, we give in to Makoto's demands, which involve going after Underworld Mastermind, Junya Kaneshiro. Since we can't reach the palace, we tell Makoto that our mission has hit a roadblock. Makoto makes a risky play, and now Kaneshiro blackmails us, but we're able to enter the palace. Shadow Kaneshiro lets us in, only for us to get attacked. After a simple fight, we get cornered, but Makoto awakens their persona. The awakening battle forces my party into the battle, but the fight was easy anyways, so I don't think it mattered. We make our escape, and Makoto joins the team. Most of the fights here can be summed up as,
Show me your true form!
And the puzzles in the latter half can be a little time consuming, but I don't have time to waste. I make it to the treasure in about 40 minutes, and after that, I gain access to fusion alarms, which will allow me to create stronger skill cards and personas. And with that, I'm ready for the boss. I grinded to level 35, 10 levels higher than Kaneshiro is himself, and this fight only took 3 attempts, but each attempt took forever. The first phase alone took me about 30 minutes to get through. March of the Piggy is the only move Piggytron is using, so I have to heal myself repeatedly while getting in some Agidines while I can. This was a very long process with how much of a damage sponge Piggytron is. Once he's out of the Piggytron, Kaneshiro summons 2 goons to help out. Thankfully, with Detox on my lamb's pillow, I don't get put to sleep much and I'm able to put them to sleep instead. I aim to take out the Hitman first, since he has a much higher chance of landing a crit than anyone else, as seen in this amazing clip of my first attempt. After the Hitman is gone, Kaneshiro begins to use Make It Rain, which does 70% of my HP and damage, so there's a couple of close calls. Once he runs out of money, he can't use Make It Rain anymore, and his bodyguard leaves him. I panic heal myself once more, and Kaneshiro finally goes down, with the fight taking 3 attempts and 69 Takamedics. We make our last minute escape from the palace, and a reward from all of this is Morgana being crushed to death, and some Monopoly money of Kaneshiro. Wonderful. The next day, Kaneshiro confesses his crimes, ending another arc. I spend my free time working on Confidants, and the plot continues. A hacking group known as Medjed threatens to launch an attack on Japan's economy unless the Phantom Thieves turn themselves in. The group is at a loss of what to do, but luckily we receive an anonymous text from someone called Alibaba, who agrees to help us take care of Medjed if we take someone named Futaba Sakura's heart. After some digging around, we find out Futaba is Sojiro's adopted daughter, Makoto gets jump scared, and Sojiro explains Futaba's backstory and how she blames herself for her mother's death. With the goal of not only stopping Medjed, but also saving Futaba from her trauma, the thieves enter Futaba's palace, which is a desert. We head to the pyramid, and right when the treasure is within our sights, Shadow Futaba boots us out, and thus, we decide to come back another day, fully prepared for what's to come. Before we can progress, Shadow Futaba wants us to get back a gem that a thief in town stole. It has no weaknesses, so I just go for technical damage to win. After that, we return to Shadow Futaba only for her to once again try to kill us, this time with quicksand, and at this point, I can traverse the palace on my own time. The palace is pretty simple, insta-kill everything I can, and avoid what I can't, which is pretty much just Anubis and Thaw. The next forced encounter is Mott. It's weak to wind, and I only have Magaru, and when it can, it'll turn me into a rat so I can't act for a while it hits me hard, along with summoning some easy to take down Lamias. A little close, but nothing too crazy. After some mural puzzles, binary, and mirror reflecting, I'm pretty much done with the palace. With the route to the treasure secured, it's time to send the calling card and take down the boss. I also gain access to the gallows now, which can allow me to strengthen my personas directly. Unlike the last 3 other palaces, I decided to face the boss the next day because I thought it would be very easy. All I need is Repel Physical and Null Dizzy, and this is a practically guaranteed win. I fuse a new Arsene with Repel Physical from Kaguya Picaro, although I could have gotten it from Giri Mikala, and Null Dizzy from Matador. The first phase of the boss fight is scripted, so I just guard to get through it faster. Once Futaba awakens to her persona and joins in, she automatically repels an attack at Wakaba, so I can't do anything about it. But what I can do is stop Futaba from helping out any further by agreeing with Wakaba when she says things like, "I'm Futaba's mother," or "Futaba is terrible and should die." I feel bad about it, but I don't want any assistance, especially when I don't need it since I can repel physical moves myself. Without a doubt, this is the easiest boss fight in the entire run. With Rakunda, Wakaba is doing about 1000 to herself with each attack, and with Null Dizzy along with the Gauntlet to increase my evasion to magic attacks, this fight is a complete joke. One gunshot to end it, and Wakaba goes down. We make our escape and find Futaba knocked out outside her house. We began to worry, but Sojiro assures us this is normal and she'll be fine after she rests up. Since this is the first time in this run I've finished a palace immediately, I have a lot of free time to kill. I reach max HP, so I start going to the temple in Kishijoji instead of the gym. I max Kasumi's Confidant and get a catchy up to rank 5 and the story continues. Futaba finally wakes up and takes down Medjed before falling back asleep. The next couple of days are dedicated to helping Futaba get used to life outside of her room, so not much gets done for a while. But we do get rank 4 knowledge and charm, and thus I won't have to work on social stats anymore. I decided to start working on Chihiya's Confidant since one of her perks will allow me to get visual alarms easily. And a little later, I automatically start Futaba's Confidant after she joins the team. This isn't avoidable, so unfortunately, she'll be around to provide periodic aid in battle, but usually, her help won't be too impactful. We go to Hawaii, our principal gets killed, and our next target is Kunikazu Okumura, who seems to be connected to the mental shutdown cases. But before we can all agree on targeting him, Morgana gets into a petty fight with Ryuji and storms off. We explore Okumura's palace a bit, find Morgana working with another Persona user, and we're forced to escape. We find out the girl Morgana was working with is Haru Okumura, the daughter of the man we're after. Later, Haru's political fiancé, Sugimura, appears and starts to harass Haru. Morgana gets punched to the side, but the rest of the Phantom Thieves show up just in time, so Sugimura backs off. The next day, Haru asks us to help take down her father, so we get to it. I enter the Velvet Room first for new skills, namely Garudine from Garuda and Makoga from Anubis. Pretty early into the palace, we run into Shadow Okumura and Cognitive Sugimura. Haru awakens to her persona's true power, and the fight begins. I already have stronger side moves than Haru anyways, so I'm able to take down Sugimura fast. We continue on through the palace, and no enemy poses a threat. The first part of the palace has us trying to steal keycard IDs from high-ranking employees, and the next part is the factory, which is also easy to get through. Eventually, we make it to our next forced encounter, which is another wave of employee grunts. Same deal as before, not a big problem at all, just take some SP, but we're almost done with the palace anyway. Lastly, we make it to the airlock puzzle, everyone's favorite. I've beaten this game multiple times, so it's not so difficult for me to get through. Or at least, that's what I planned on saying, but in reality, I got stuck again for a while. So instead of watching that, let's watch me destroy the final Willseed Guardian. And with that, we've secured our route to the treasure. There's a good chance that this is the boss some of you have been looking forward to the most. Some may have even thought this would be the hardest boss of the run. So what if I told you that this was one of the easiest? On Merciless, attacks that target weaknesses and technical hits do 3 times the damage, so I can easily wipe out the employees. Even if the enemies get a chance to attack, I have Repel Physical, so the damage goes right back to them. The hardest part was the Execurobo, since it has no weaknesses, and once it was almost out of HP, it would only use Big Bang Challenge, which deals a lot of damage. I make it dizzy and do technical damage to take it out. All that's left is Cognitive Haru, which self-destructs in only a few turns, and with 1 gunshot, we win on our first try. We escape, and someone must have thought 1 gunshot wasn't enough, so Okumura gets shot again. I have a lot of free time again, so I max out Kawakami so I can go out at night after visiting the metaverse, and Takemi so I can purchase all the items she has. Once October 3rd hits, we get some more plot. While passing by us, Kasumi drops her good luck charm, and we agree to give it back to her in Odaiba. As soon as we arrive, Kasumi, Morgana, and Joker end up in a palace. Kasumi awakens to her persona, and after a very easy fight, we escape and explain everything to Kasumi, who decides not to join the Phantom Thieves yet. Finally, after a long wait, we all meet up at Disneyland, just in time to watch Okumura die due to a mental shutdown. We all head home for the night, and wish the best for Haru. The Phantom Thieves' name is at an all-time low since we've been framed for the death of Okumura and our principal. We try to get any information we can to help us by inviting Akechi to our school festival. However, Akechi was ready for this, and uses this as an opportunity to out us as the Phantom Thieves. We have pretty much no choice but to give in to his demands, which include changing Sai's heart. We feel a little mixed about it, but Makoto agrees to the mission, so we make our move. Shadow Sai willingly tells us where the treasure is, and while trying to pursue her, we run into an enemy, which is Akechi's opportunity to show what he can do with his persona, Robin Hood. Pretty simple fight as always. This is probably my second favorite palace in the game. I love the aesthetic, the music, and just about everything. Although at this point in the game, no enemies are posing a threat to me at all, not even the mini-bosses. The first section requires me to sneak into the back room so I can get a member's card to reach a higher floor. After getting the card, we can move on to the next floor which has dice and slot machines. Instead of wasting our time actually gambling, we rig the machines in our favor. A few fights here and there, but more or less easy. We're able to make it to the high limit floor, but we can't move on further because there's a blockade that can only be passed if Sai sees us in a courtroom in the real world. So we pay her a quick visit and head back into the palace. The last 2 games here are a short maze and an arena with 3 fights that I easily get through. With that, we have reached the required amount of coins we need to reach the treasure just for Sai to increase it to 1 million. However, through some smart thinking, Akechi is able to provide us with the rest of the coins so we can cross the bridge and secure the route to the treasure. Akechi recommends that we don't go after Sai until the last day, so I spend my time getting Chihaya to rank 8 so I can activate fusion alarms easier, get Sojiro to rank 6 so I can make SP healing coffee, and do Akechi's rank 8, which is a one-on-one fight in Mementos. It wasn't very hard at all thanks to Repel Physical and Akechi not using any blast skills. After maxing up Chihaya and Maruki, it's time to fight Shadow Sai. At this point in the game, I think it's fair to add Diavrahan and Concentrate to my skill list. The first phase is pretty boring. I have to sit for a couple of turns and lose a couple of bets so that Futaba can call Sai a cheater, which makes Sai get angry and transform into her next form, Leviathan. The gimmick of this phase is that Leviathan will spin in a roulette, and whatever it lands on, it's neutral to its opposite affinity, repels what it lands on, and resists everything else. For example, if she lands on fire, she'll take neutral damage to Bufudyne. If I have a move that does neutral damage, I use that move to attack. Otherwise, I use Bleeding Dry Rush to absorb whatever attack Sai throws at me. After HP reaches the halfway mark, she's now neutral to all affinities and has access to almighty attacks, with some attacks doing over half of my HP, so I have to be careful. With Repel Physical, she does massive damage to herself, so the fight goes by faster than expected. Afterwards, the palace starts to get swarmed with enemies and we need to escape, but someone must act as a diversion so everyone else can get out undetected. Joker decides to be the one, and now we're back to where we first started the game. Now, if you give up and tell Sai that you and your friends are the Phantom Thieves, then you'll get the bad ending. We stick to our justice, and eventually, we're able to start the route towards the good ending. We tell Sai to show Akechi, who's the traitor, the smartphone as she leaves, and thankfully, she believes us enough to do that. Akechi enters the interrogation room, shoots the guard, and then says,
"He copied my whole fucking flow! Word for word, bar for bar!"
However, Akechi must have forgotten that this was a video game, and we respawn immediately. Okay, in reality what happened was a lot more convoluted, but basically, we got Akechi to kill Cognitive Joker rather than the real one. We learned that Akechi's been working for politician Masayoshi Shido, who's the one that's not only behind the mental shutdown cases, but also got Wakaba killed and ruined Joker's life. Without much deliberation, we agree to take him down and head into his palace. This palace is split into two parts, getting 5 letters recommendation, and the rap puzzles in between them. The 5 letters of recommendation require 5 mini-bosses to take down. They can range from easy like the first 4, to unlosable like the last one, the Cleaner. With the item that nulls Bless and Curse, along with Repel Physical, I literally cannot get hit by anything. However, things aren't so easy, and Akechi arrives to take us down. Akechi summons 2 shadows who only do physical attacks, which get repelled back to them. Akechi steps in and gets destroyed, but then he switches to his Black Mask form and his stronger persona Loki. He has some strong skills, but at max HP, I don't need to worry much. Eventually, Akechi goes down for good. We try to convince Akechi to join us, but Cognitive Akechi shows up. Before we all get attacked, Akechi sacrifices himself so we can take out Shido for him. A little later, we secure the route to the treasure and prepare to send the calling card. I grab Meki Dolon and Swords Dance, and I'm ready to fight Shido. This fight forces me to have teammates, so I bring in the ones with the lowest endurance so that they can go down the fastest, being Morgana, An, and Haru. The first phase is against Shido riding his beast made up of the masses, but it's nothing I can't handle with some concentrated Meki Dolons. Next is the fight with Shido himself. Really no strategy for this, just more Meki Dolons. For his final phase, Shido makes it a one-on-one with Joker, but unlucky for him, I played the entire game like this, so Shido goes down for good. We make our escape, Ryuichi dies, except he doesn't, except he does, and the next day, Shido confesses to his crimes. But something is a bit off. No one seems to be talking about the Phantom Thieves and thinks Shido's confession was just out of lack of sleep. It's as if the Phantom Thieves never existed, so we go into Mementos to find out what's going on. This is another one of my favorite palaces. Although it's the shortest, I like the floor puzzles and its portrayal of the human unconscious. After some familiar faces and easy fights, we reach the depths, and find out the thing that's causing our problems. A cup! We try to fight it, but damn, Cup got hands, and it uses those hands to have us fade from existence. However, we're not quite dead yet, and wake up in the Velvet Room, only for Igor to order the twins to kill us. We fuse the twins into Lavenza, and then point out that the main antagonist of the game that caused everything to happen is the fake Igor, also known as Yaldabaoth. We regroup with the team, and make our way to Yaldabaoth, taking down 4 angels in the process. And this is our final stopping point before the final boss. Beyond here will be a rematch with the Holy Grail, and eventually Yaldabaoth. I'm not able to do enough fast, consistent damage to the Holy Grail to take it down before it can heal, so I need to have a party member to help cut the veins. Thankfully, this doesn't deal any damage, so I don't think this delegitimizes the run. After enough Meki Dolons, the Holy Grail goes down, and we're left with the final boss of Persona 5, Yaldabaoth. This fight was undoubtedly the hardest fight in the entire run. Madarame may have been annoying, and Kaneshiro may have been tedious, but Yaldabaoth was both and so much worse. Yaldabaoth can either attack me, debuff me, or summon another weapon that can attack me, or inflict me with sin. The sins can range from being as useless as Envy, which would lead me to attack other party members, to as rough as Vanity, which makes me weak to all affinities. If every single weapon landed an attack on me on one turn, I'd be wiped out at full health easily. The sword doesn't matter because of repel physical, but the rest can hit me fair and square. Near the end, Yaldabaoth starts to use Rays of Control, which is one of the strongest skills in the entire game. Somehow, it doesn't do enough to one-shot me at max health unguarded, and after a good amount of luck, I landed one last Megidolon to defeat Yaldabaoth. Our wishes to save the world reach the masses, and we receive their full support. Arsene harnesses the desires of mankind and becomes Setonile, and with its power, Yaldabaoth is defeated. The metaverse begins to fade away, along with Morgana, who bids us farewell to the group. At this part of the game, I've completed the entirety of Persona 5 with just Joker and Arsene. However, this is Persona 5 Royal, so there's still more to the game. This is one last warning before we get into the Royal content. I really love that part of the game, and I'd hate for someone to get spoiled on it. Tai approaches Joker and asks him to testify against Shido's crimes, but that would lead to Joker getting arrested. Before Joker could give his answer, Akechi arrives, unscathed from the events of Shido's palace, and agrees to testify in Joker's place. Things only continue to get more strange, and in the new year, Okumura and Wakaba are alive again, and Morgana is now a human. No one besides Joker, Akechi, and Kasumi seem to realize this, and the three enter the palace in Odaiba to find some answers. We find the palace ruler, who is none other than Maruki, who used his newfound power to create an ideal world. We also learn Kasumi is actually Sumire, and that the real Kasumi died at the beginning of the game. We're forced to leave Sumire behind in the palace, and after trying to talk some sense into our friends, return to get her back. Sumire fights us, but puts up no struggle. Maruki makes her persona go berserk, and soon, our friends arrive to help us out. Sanjian can heal a good chunk of HP from the enemies Maruki keeps spawning, but eventually, after Maruki stops doing that, the fight is over quickly. Maruki says that he'll be waiting for us on February 3rd to give him a final answer, so our mission to reach the top of Maruki's palace begins. Without a doubt, this is my favorite palace in the game. The music and design are perfect, and learning about Maruki's depressing past is really cool to me. The boss fights here don't really go further than me doing Concentrate Megidolon, so after some climbing and neat puzzles, we make it to the top. I have some free time, so I spend it doing what any teenager would do when they have to save the world. Play video games. Fast forward to February 2nd, and Maruki pleads with us one last time to agree to his reality, and reminds us that if the old reality comes back, Akechi will go too. Akechi reinforces Joker's resolve to return to the old reality, they hand Maruki the calling card, and at the top of the palace, the final boss battle begins. Here's my final Arsene. With these skills, Maruki and his persona Azathoth won't be doing anything to me. Most of my damage comes from repel skills, which is more than enough to win. However, Maruki evolves his persona, and this is where it gets hard. Maruki will use Origin Light until my party is down, and then he'll switch to Grand Palm, which is the strongest attack I'd face in this run. It does over 1000 damage to me, at max endurance and with a Tantric Oath R, which is arguably the best armor in the game. I can't debuff Adam Kadmon either, so the only way to survive is to buff my own defense. Maruki would have a pattern of doing 2 Grand Palms and then waiting, so I had to heal when Grand Palm hits and Rokukaja when he's waiting. Whenever he misses a Grand Palm, I'd set up for a concentrated Megidolon, and that's my whole strategy. I do have the item that raises my evasion to magic and max agility, so the RNG I need is realistic, and with Wakefulness, I won't need to worry about running out of SP. Eventually, that's the end of that phase. The last Adam Kadmon phase is scripted. Just guard enough and you'll enter a cutscene where Joker finishes off Adam Kadmon with 1 gunshot. But Maruki isn't satisfied yet, so he asks Joker for a man-to-man fight. After that, Maruki is defeated for good. We save him from falling to his death, and we escape together to the true reality. Since Akechi isn't around anymore, Joker's in prison, so the gang has to help bust him out. We move on to the last day of the game, say our goodbyes to our friends, and the credits start to roll. So is this run possible? I'd say yeah. The only problem is the Ryuchi Awakening fight, but per our rules, the run begins after that, and I really tried for hours to get the fight to work out well, but the RNG is too unrealistic. Also, here's a little tier list of sorts so I can share my comparisons on boss difficulty for the run. If you made it this far in the video, you're a real one. I really love this series and I plan on doing challenge runs for pretty much all of the games. I have one more planned for Royal though before I move on to the others, and I hope it doesn't take too long to make, but it'll probably be even harder than this one was. Subscribe, leave a like, check out my Twitter and Twitch. Sometimes I stream my challenge runs when I'm not busy with school, and it'd be nice to see you all there. Till next time, thank you and have a great day.